All right, everybody. Happy Monday from KuztumOGT. Monday is actually my Friday. I'm off tonight and tomorrow, so I'm one of the few people that can say, thank God it's Monday. Plus, today I get to react to Jessie Wells again, which is awesome. Jessie's always a fun reaction, but this one might be a little bit different. So, a individual going by the name Useless But Not For Now bought us a coffee on the channel and suggested the song I Ain't Got None of My Friends Left by Jessie Wells. I've always liked Jessie's work. He's got this sort of smart-ass, snarky humor about him, but it's tempered with some very cutting insight. It kind of reminds me of Bob Dylan and Dave Mustaine had a kid, and maybe there's a little John Cougar Mellencamp DNA in there as well. But this one looks pretty serious, or sounds pretty serious. My friend, my partner on the channel, Danny, he suffered a number of losses already this year. I wish he could be here to react to the song with me, but useless but not for now. You mentioned you'd seen a Jessie Wells reaction from the channel. I don't know if it was me doing the reacting or Danny. So if you watch this and you want to see Danny do a reaction, let me know. I'll make that happen. So this reaction is going to be dedicated to Useless But Not For Now and to my friend and partner, Danny Logan, Danny LeeOGT, and we're going to dive into Jessie Wells. I ain't got none of my friends left.
Will all promises be kept? Will we all be better off? I get the notion we won't know until the ketamine wears off. I looked up into my left and saw a canopy of green. I do not need to be unburdened, I just need someone to lead. And if it looks a bit familiar, like it did the other time, they say that history don't repeat itself, and all history just rhymes. The river's deep, the river's wide, and there ain't no way across it except to swim or sink and die. The way is long, the path is mean. I ain't got none of my friends left, they all vanished in the stream. I ain't got none of my friends left, they all vanished in the stream.
Right off the bat, this is hitting pretty hard. Jessie has been compared to Bob Dylan a lot of times. I think he's got a much better voice than Dylan. Which, you know, the bar is set pretty low there. Bob did have a very identifiable sound, but even he would not admit it was not the prettiest thing. Jessie's voice, it's oddly pleasant. There's an interesting grit to it that sounds very weary without sounding aggressive or jagged. And I think that's perfect for something like this, where it's just the sound of someone sort of reflecting on things that they've lost and trying to move on in a world that doesn't always make sense, frequently does not. The chorus, though, wow. The river's deep, the river's wide, and there ain't no way across it except to swim or sink and die. The way is long, the path is mean. I ain't got none of my friends left, they just vanished in the stream. I ain't got none of my friends left, they all vanished in the stream. I mean, it tugs at the heartstrings, but it's a brilliant way of describing life. You know, sometimes we're carried along on the tide, sometimes we can swim against it, sometimes we can grab a hold of things to stabilize us, and then sometimes we just get swept away. All right, let's keep going here. I'm sorry about the camera obscuring the lyrics. I've got that fixed. That's a. It looks like he means business on that. All right, let's go.
Saw picked a child from his litter.
Oh. Let's go start the chorus again.
The river's deep, the river's wide, and there ain't no way across it except to swim or sink and die. The way is long, the path is mean. I ain't got none of my friends left, they all vanished in the stream. I ain't got none of my friends left, they all vanished in the stream. When the black cat with his chainsaw picked a child from his litter to remind us he's a man, I'll admit I did feel bitter, and I wondered if the jester knew that he's in on the joke. Some folks don't ask what's in the wagon, they just grin and bear the yoke. And if it looks a bit familiar, like it did the other time, they say that history don't repeat itself, no history just rhymes. The river's deep, the river's wide, and there ain't no way across it except to swim or sink and die. The way is long, the path is mean. I ain't got none of my friends left, they all vanished in the stream. I ain't got none of my friends left, they all vanished in the stream.
A couple of things musically that he's doing that I really like. First of all, like, if you're gonna sing, in a casual location, the restroom's got great acoustics and interesting messages scrawled in there too. It's I would like to sort of take a look and see. He seems very specific about his references. I'm guessing the black hat with the chainsaw might be a reference to Elon Musk. But I like how he keeps the song simple but effective. Like it's a nice strumming pattern, and the melody actually has a lot of ascending and descending lines, so it almost is like waves or a current. But because the music is fundamentally simple but so well structured, it allows you to focus on his lyric and his voice and his story. The way he sings, I ain't got none of my friends left, they all vanished in the stream. That's as conversational, I think, as you can get. There are classical musicians who know scales and stuff like that, and know if I use it in this key, I can evoke this emotion. But that's what Jessie is doing there. That's a direct line. That's the sound of restrained grief and weariness. And there's a heartbreaking beauty about it. I think I had something else to say, but completely forgotten. I think Jessie knows what he's doing. I think he's a very skilled musician who is very good at sounding natural and unpolished. So it sounds very human, I guess. Like I said, it's so easy for it to resonate. I think that's why so many people enjoy his work. So let's go back and finish this off. Hey, it's a picture of Danny Carey on the back wall there. The octopus. All right.
When they pave over the bodies and democratize the stones, I will leave a Yelp review in the valley of the bones. When the thirsty have their blood and all the people's souls departed, they can raise the holy, swollen, golden temple of the arches. And if it looks a bit familiar, like it did the...
Okay, I'm sorry. I want to hear that verse again. The people's democratize the stones. I will leave a Yelp review in the Valley of the Bones. That is... I gotta hear this again.
When they pave over the bodies and democratize the stones, I will leave a Yelp review in the Valley of the Bones. When the thirsty have their blood and all the people's souls departed, they can raise the holy, swollen, golden temple of the arches. And if it looks a bit familiar, like it did the other time, they say that history don't repeat itself, no, history just rhymes. Oh, history don't repeat itself, no, history just rhymes. The river's deep, the river's wide, and there ain't no way across it except the swimmer sink and die. The way is long, the path is mean, I ain't got none of my friends left, they all vanished in the stream. I ain't got none of my friends left, they all vanished in the stream.
Man, that last verse, that gave me goosebumps. When they pave over the bodies and democratize the stones, that it's replacing a free-thinking humanity with drones, with things that have, or maybe even it talks about maybe automation, just the loss of humanity. I will leave a Yelp review in the Valley of the Bones. I mean, the man had a sentence with the word Yelp, and he talked about a Yelp review and made it poetic. That, and I guess he's just basically talking about sort of shouting into the wind. You know, you're trying to make a difference, but the machines that are running are difficult to stop. The powers that are competing for control over us, you know, they're going to work to silence you, to keep you still, to keep you unhealthy, to keep you miserable, so they can continue to control you. And when the thirsty have their blood and the people's souls departed, they will raise the holy, swollen temple of the golden arches. I work at McDonald's, man. That hit home. And there you're just sort of talking about commercialization. This is just my take. Jessie's one of those guys whose songs obviously can have many meanings depending on your experience, but it seems like he's talking about loss of a life, a friend, versus the loss of humanity. So he's talking about, I've got none of my friends left, they all vanished in the stream. And then he's talking about the scenario where, you know, huge swaths of people are lost. Wow. It's cliche to say, but don't wait until tomorrow to tell your loved ones that you love them. be there for your friends. Reach out to them. And I'm saying this as an introvert. This is not easy for me. Like I like my solitude. I like my silence. But I have a very small group of friends, and they're all in need, as we all are. And I have to make sure that they know that I'm there for them. I could do a much better job with that. I really could, because you don't know. You don't know when they're going to be lost in the stream. And when that happens, you have to be there to carry their memory the rest of the way. Yeah, Jesse Wells says some of his stuff has this weird subversive comedy to it, but this one is just, wow, emotionally crippling, quite frankly. Useless but not for long. Thank you very much for this. This was eye-opening and heart-wrenching. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Everyone out there, I hope you enjoyed this. Go out and say hi to a friend, hug a loved one, and yeah, we'll be seeing you guys around very soon. Thank you for your time, and hope you have a great week.